Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Giblin, and my presentation is on the emotionally disturbed disability. To start, students with emotionally disturbed disability, or ED for short, is a condition that exhibits one or more characteristics that lasts over a long period of time. We will go deeper into the characteristics in the next few slides. However, ED is present when a student responds to a certain behavior or emotion inappropriately, especially when they show feelings of sadness for long periods of time or unhappiness. Students with ED also have a difficult time maintaining relationships with peers or others, such as their teachers, their parents, and some other adults that interact with them. It is said that students who show signs of ED have a wide range of issues that are unique and specific to that individual, which means not everyone who has ED shares the same signs and symptoms. This disability also includes mental health illnesses. In order for a student to be classified or considered for ED, it must have a negative impact on their academic achievement. For example, the inability to learn that is unrelated to their intellectual development, their sensory development, or health factors. It is especially important to take the signs of an emotionally disturbed child seriously, as it may lead to physical aggression or self-injurious behavior. There are many factors of ED in children, such as their family functioning, hereditary factors, or stress, and it can be divided into categories such as biological or environmental. Biological would be the hereditary factor, and environmental would be family functioning. It is important to note that the causes of emotionally disturbed students or children is really unknown, but we do know that the behaviors that they exhibit must continue over a long period of time in order to be considered. While we mentioned before that each child has unique characteristics, they share the deficits in three main areas. We have emotional development, behavioral development, and cognitive development. Some characteristics that students with ED have are hyperactivity, which means they're impulsive on their actions or they have short attention span. There's aggression or self-injurious behavior, which means that they're acting out or they're being physical towards someone or themselves. Then there's withdrawal, which means that they're not really socializing with their peers the way that they should or even at all. And sometimes they could develop something called social phobia, which means that they're kind of fearful to socialize with people. Another characteristic would be immaturity, which means that the children with ED can show inappropriate tantrums for their age, and they would have poor coping skills with that. Lastly, there's learning difficulties, which means that they are showing below grade level academics and achievement. There are many types of emotional disturbances, and the following are the most common. There are anxiety disorders, more specifically generalized anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, social anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder. Then we have bipolar disorder, which means that children can go through mood swings and also have changes in energy, which means that they could be really happy at one point and then quickly change to really sad or vice versa. Then there's conduct disorder, which means that a student has trouble following rules or directions, and also they have trouble behaving in a socially acceptable way. We also have eating disorders as a specific emotional disturbance. More specifically, it is found that anorexia nervosa and binge eating are the most common out of those. Lastly, we have psychotic disorders, which means that children can show signs of hallucinations or delusions. For frequency, in the 2013-2014 school year, over 354,000 students with ED received specific educational services. In the 2015-2016 school year, according to the United States Department of Education, 5% of the students under IDEA, which means the Individuals with Disabilities Act, were served for ED. That is the picture shown to your left for students ages 3 to 21. And also, an estimated 71% of those students suffer from language or receptive disorders, which means that this impacts the communication with peers and adults. Another interesting fact is that African American students were more likely to be diagnosed with ED than white students. This brings up the possible racial bias that some people may have. Also, there is a direct correlation to low income status and ED disorders, but the reason behind this is really unknown. In the school, academic achievement and problem behaviors go hand in hand. Most students with ED have below average grades and below average academic achievement. Students with ED also can have a coexisting learning disability, and a student with ED may be eligible for special education services, such as an IEP. More specifically, in that IEP, you would have psychological or counseling services for that child. It is also important to benefit students in the school with ED through effective educational programs. This provides students with emotional and behavioral support and also gives them a positive support system that is not only effective for ED students, but effective for all students in the school. In the classroom, teachers should provide emotional and behavioral support like we mentioned before. It is also important to help students with ED achieve academics, develop social skills, increase self-awareness, self-control, and self-esteem. It is also important to give consistent and specific praise. The consistent and specific praise will also help increase their self-awareness, knowing that what they did was a good thing and they're getting rewarded or praised for it. This also encourages the students to show that behavior again and again. Also in the classroom, there's something called the positive behavioral support, which means they're trying to get the problem behaviors minimized and the positive behaviors encouraged. A good example of this is something called the Good Behavior Game Study, which was made in 2013. Since more students with ED are being included in general educational settings, teachers have a new challenge of maintaining appropriate classroom settings. This study focuses on the strategies and ways teachers can adapt and teach good behavioral management techniques within their classroom. The game involves both general education students and ED students collaborating with the teacher to figure out the most occurring disruptive behaviors in the classroom are. As a class, they make a list of target behaviors that they want to eliminate. Previous studies show that breaking the classroom up into teams worked, but this study shows that the classroom as a whole working together and competing against the teacher was more beneficial. If those target behaviors that they mentioned are shown, they get a mark. These are also interval times of 15 minutes where the teacher mentions the start and end time. During that time, if a team member or a person in the classroom, for this case, exhibits a target behavior, they get a mark with no discussion. If the team has 4 or less marks, they win for that day. If not, the teacher wins. The teacher can give out rewards if they win the first couple of times in order to gain positive reinforcement and have more interest in showing positive and better behaviors. At the end, if the classroom has the most wins in a 2-week period, they can have a party. This is beneficial for students with ED because it creates social interaction between the students with ED and general education students. It also provides opportunity for every student, especially one for ED, to shine and work on their self-esteem and self-control. It is important for these students to learn self-control in the classrooms so that there's less disruptive behavior and more of a positive classroom environment where everyone has a fair chance to learn. The importance of support would be forming relationships with students with ED being the most important. School counselors and teachers should build trust, mutual respect, and empathy between a student with ED. This can have a lasting impact on the emotional development of the child as they will remember the effort that was put into helping and supporting them. Supporting students with ED within the school can help tremendously with the students, especially getting everyone involved in a student's education in order to be well informed about the care that the student is receiving. Services, both inside and outside the school, should be coordinated between home, the school, and the community, whatever is necessary for the student. It is also important to be effectively communicating between one another in order to be on the same page. With communication, the team and family members need to consider the appropriate strategies to address a behavior a student is exhibiting, like positive behavior interventions, in order to promote the positive behavior and keep it motivated. Students with ED should get services based on their own personal needs. Families also need help understanding the disability and how to address it at home as well. Counselors should support the family and the student with the necessary needs, as well as the teachers. They should also recommend related services outside within the community in order for them to develop a better understanding and get more support. There are services such as the Mental Health America and National Alliance on Mental Illness that definitely promote and offer services and support. For more information on organizations that support the classroom and family structure for students, here are a few listed below. This gives parents and ones in the education field great information on how to maintain behaviors and support students with ED. The organizations are the Federation of Families for Children's Mental Health, Center for Disability and Development, Center on Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, and American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. So this ends my presentation on emotionally disturbed disabilities. Thank you for taking the time to learn with me about ED. And as a future school counselor, I am more than willing to work with students who may struggle from this disability and help them grow with whatever they need. Right here are the references where I got the information from if you would like to learn more. Thank you so much.